Protocol 7? Jack asked, the words feeling strange in his mouth. He watched as Zelia's skin rippled with waves of deep blue light. Xylia nodded slowly. It is something we have only done 3 times in our entire history. It is a special kind of agreement between species. Jack waited for her to continue, feeling the weight of her words in the quiet room. Our scientists have studied your species carefully since we found Earth, Zelia said. She stood and walked to the window, looking out at the stars. Out of all the worlds we have visited, humans are the first species in over 1,000 years that might be able to help us with our problem. How? Jack asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Zelia turned to face him. Protocol 7 is what we call a genetic exchange program. Jack's eyes widened as understanding slowly dawned on him. Are you talking about breeding between our species? That is a simple way to put it, yes, Celia said. Her skin shifted to purple with streaks of gold, but it is more than that. It is a sharing of life itself, a way to create something new that might save both our peoples. Jack stood up quickly, nearly knocking over his chair. That's not possible. We evolved on different planets, around different suns. Our DNA can't be compatible. And yet it is, Zelia said calmly. We have run thousands of tests. There is a 93% chance of successful genetic merging. Jack paced the room, trying to process what she was saying. Even if it's true, why me? There are billions of humans. You were chosen because your genetic pattern has certain markers we need, she explained. And also because we needed someone who could understand the importance of this choice. It must be voluntary, Jack. This cannot be a military order. Jack stopped pacing. I need to report this conversation to my superiors. Of course, Zelia said. Take whatever time you need to decide. The next morning, Jack sat across from Admiral Garrett in the ship's secure meeting room. Captain Nelson was there too, along with Dr. Linda Cruz, the ship's chief medical officer. Jack had just finished explaining Protocol 7. The room was silent for a long minute. Are you absolutely sure you understood her correctly? Admiral Garrett finally asked. Yes, sir, Jack said. She was very clear. Dr. Cruz leaned forward. This is medically fascinating if true. 2 species from different worlds being genetically compatible enough to reproduce? It defies everything we know about biology. I'm more concerned about the diplomatic implications, Captain Nelson said. If we say no, how will they react? Will they take their technology and leave, or worse? Admiral Garrett stood up and walked to the room's small window. We need to contact Earth Command immediately. This is beyond our authority to decide. For the next 3 days, Jack didn't see Zelia. The ship was buzzing with rumors. People looked at him differently in the hallways. He knew some version of what happened must have leaked out. On the 4th day, Admiral Garrett called Jack to the command deck. A video link was opened to Earth Command. 5 serious-looking people in military and civilian clothes stared at him from the screen. Lieutenant Harris, said a woman with short gray hair and a general's stars on her uniform. I'm General Kate West. I've been briefed on your situation. The Council has debated this matter for 72 hours. Jack stood at attention. Yes, ma'am. This alliance with the Viralians is vital for Earth's future, General West continued. Their deflector shield technology alone could protect us from asteroid strikes and solar flares that might otherwise kill millions. Their medical technology could add decades to human lifespans. Jack nodded, his mouth dry. However, General West said firmly, no one is ordering you to do this. This must be your choice. If you decline, we will find another way to maintain the alliance. What do you think I should do, ma'am? Jack asked. General West's face softened slightly. I can't tell you that, son. This goes beyond duty, way beyond. Take some time to think about it. For the next week, Jack hardly slept. He paced his quarters, at night weighing the choice before him. The fate of 2 species might hang on his decision. He thought about his family back on Earth, his friends on the ship. What would they think if he agreed to this? What would it mean for his future? He went to see Dr. Cruz in the medical bay. Can it really work? He asked her. Is it safe? Dr. Cruz shrugged. According to the data the Viralians shared, yes. But no human has ever done this before, Jack. You would be the first. That's not very comforting, Jack said with a weak smile. If you want comfort, you came to the wrong doctor, Dr. Cruz replied. But I can tell you this. Sometimes the greatest discoveries come from taking risks. On the 7th day, Jack asked to see Zelia again. She welcomed him into her quarters with a formal bow. I have questions, Jack said. I will answer honestly, she replied. If I agree to this Protocol 7, he began, what exactly would happen? Physically, I mean. Zelia's skin turned a soft pink. The process is similar to what humans call intimate relations. Our bodies are compatible in that way too. And after? Jack asked. Would there be a child? If successful, yes, Zelia said. The offspring would have traits from both our species. It would be raised on Viralia as a bridge between our worlds. Would I ever see it? The question caught in his throat. Of course, Zelia said, her eyes widening. You would be welcome. On our world as the child's father. You could visit whenever you wished. Jack took a deep breath. One last question. Why is this so important to your people? Really? Zelia was quiet for a moment. Her skin darkened to a deeper blue than Jack had ever seen. Our people are dying, Jack, she finally said. For the past 500 years, each generation has fewer children than the one before. Our scientists believe it is because our gene pool is too small. We need new genetic material to survive. And humans have that material? Yes. You are the first compatible species we have found in over 1,000 years of searching the stars. Jack stood and walked to the window, looking out at the vast blackness of space. Earth needed this alliance. The Viralian technology could protect humanity from threats they were only beginning to understand. And the Viralians needed this too. Needed him to survive as a species. Another week passed as Jack thought about his choice. He talked with Captain Nelson, with Dr. Cruz, with his friend Ben who worked in engineering. Everyone had a different opinion. Finally, Jack made his decision. He asked for one more meeting with Zelia. When she opened the door to her quarters, her skin was a nervous yellow color. Jack had learned enough about Viralian color speaking to know she was anxious. I've thought about Protocol 7, Jack said quietly. And? Zelia asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Jack took a deep breath. I'll do it. I'll participate in Protocol 7. Zelia's skin exploded with colors, bright reds, golds, and blues rippling across her body in waves. Jack had never seen anything so beautiful. Thank you, Jack, she said, taking his hands in hers. You cannot understand what this means for my people. As her warm hands held his, Jack wondered what he had just agreed to and how it would change his life and possibly the future of two species forever. 3 months passed. Life on the USS Intrepid returned to something like normal for Jack. The Protocol 7 ceremony had happened in private, with only Dr. Cruz there as a medical observer. Jack didn't like to think about it much. It had been strange, but not unpleasant. A mix of Viralian rituals and something more basic that seemed to cross the boundaries between species. After the ceremony, Zelia and her team had left for their home planet. The alliance between Earth and Viralia was stronger than ever. Viralian technology was already changing human life. New medical machines appeared in hospitals around Earth, curing diseases that had once been death sentences. The first Viralian shield generators were being built around major cities, protecting them from storms and other threats. Jack went back to his regular duties as a ship linguist. Sometimes, when he laid in his bed at night, he wondered if anything had really happened, at all. Maybe Protocol 7 had just been a symbolic thing. Maybe the Viralians had just needed him to say yes, to show trust. Maybe there would never be any real consequences. Then, on a quiet Tuesday morning, the ship's alarm sounded. Jack rushed to his station on the bridge. What's happening? He asked Ben, who worked at the radar station. Ben pointed to the main screen. Viralian ship just appeared in orbit. They're asking for you by name. Jack felt his heart skip a beat. Captain Nelson turned to him from the command chair. Any idea what this is about, Lieutenant Harris? Jack shook his head. No, sir. Well, they're asking for you to meet them on the observation deck, alone. The captain didn't look happy about that last part. Should I go, sir? Jack asked. Captain Nelson nodded slowly. Yes, but keep your communication device on. Any sign? Of trouble. And we're pulling you out of there. Jack made his way to the observation deck, a large room with walls made of thick, clear glass. From here you could see Earth below and the stars above. It was usually empty at this time of day. But today Zelia stood there waiting for him. Her skin was a swirl of colors Jack had never seen before, blues mixed with golds and flashes of green. Jack, she said when she saw him. Her voice sounded different somehow. Softer. Ambassador, he replied formally. This is unexpected. I know. I meant to send a message ahead, but there was no time. She stepped closer. Jack, I have news that will change everything. Something in her tone made Jack's skin go cold. What kind of news? Zelia's hands moved to her stomach in a very human gesture. The protocol worked beyond our expectations. I am carrying your child. Jack felt the room spin around him. He reached out and grabbed the railing that ran along the window. That's impossible, he said, his voice barely a whisper. We're from different planets, different solar systems. Our DNA can't. Our scientists didn't believe it possible either, Zelia cut him off. But the genetic compatibility is real. The child will be the first human Viralian in existence. Jack stared at her stomach. It looked the same as before. Are you sure it's mine? Zelia's skin darkened with blue spots. Offense, Jack had learned. Yes, Protocol 7 was completed only with you. The genetic tests confirm the child carries your DNA. Jack needed to sit down. He slid into a nearby chair, his legs suddenly weak. How is this possible? We don't fully understand it, Zelia admitted, sitting beside him. But our scientists believe that life throughout the universe may have common origins. Seeds spread across the stars long ago. Our species evolved differently, but at the core we remain connected. Jack tried to process this. He was going to be a father. To an alien baby. Half alien, he corrected himself. Half human. What happens now? He asked. I will return to Viralia to have the child, Zelia said. But I wanted you to know, and to ask if you wish to be part of the child's life. Before Jack could answer, his communication device beeped. It was Captain Nelson. Harris, get back to the bridge now. This news is spreading fast. Jack looked at Zelia. How does the captain know? Zelia's skin paled. The Viralian High Council has sent official messages to Earth's leaders. By now everyone knows. Sure enough, when Jack returned to the bridge with Zelia, the mood had changed completely. Officers stared at him as he walked in. Some looked shocked, others curious. A few seemed angry. On the main screen was Admiral Garrett, speaking from Earth. Command. Harris, he barked when he saw Jack. Is it true? Yes, sir, Jack said. What else could he say? Admiral Garrett's face was hard to read. You need to come back to Earth immediately, both of you. The President wants to meet with you. The next few days were a blur. Jack and Zelia traveled to Earth on her fast ship. When they landed in Washington, crowds lined the streets. Some people cheered, others held signs with angry words. News cameras followed them everywhere. At the White House, they met with the President and her top advisors. Military generals sat at one end of the long table. Scientists crowded the other end. In the middle sat the politicians, looking nervous. This changes everything, the President said. She was a small woman with a strong voice. The first hybrid child between two intelligent species from different worlds. The implications are enormous. Jack just nodded. He still couldn't wrap his head around it. A gray-haired scientist leaned forward. We need to run tests on both of you. This is the most important biological discovery in human history. My people have already done extensive testing, Zelia said firmly. I will allow limited human examination, but I will not be treated as a laboratory specimen. The arguments went back and forth for hours. Jack mostly stayed quiet. This was all happening so fast. After the meeting, they were taken to a secure facility outside the city. It wasn't exactly a prison, but there were guards at every door. Jack and Zelia each had private rooms with a shared space between them. Dr. Cruz arrived the next day, sent from the Intrepid to help with the medical side. "How are you holding up?" she asked Jack when they had a moment alone. "I don't know," he admitted. "A week ago, I was just doing my job. Now I'm going to be the father of the first human alien child in history." "Have they told you about the threats?" Dr. Cruz asked quietly. Jack looked up sharply. "What threats?" "Not everyone is happy about this," she said. "Some religious groups are calling it an abomination. Some scientists think it could introduce alien diseases to Earth, and there are other alien species out there who have taken notice. Not all of them like the idea of humans and Viralians creating a new kind of being." Jack hadn't thought about any of that. He looked through the window to where Zelia sat in the garden, her hand resting gently on her stomach. Her skin glowed a peaceful blue in the sunlight. "What have I done?" he whispered. Dr. Cruz put a hand on his shoulder. "Something no human has ever done before. You've changed the future, Jack, for better or worse." Admiral Garrett visited them that evening. He looked tired. "The political situation is complicated," he told Jack. "Some see you as a hero opening a new chapter in human history. Others think you've put Earth at risk." "I was just following orders," Jack said. Garrett shook his head. "No, you volunteered. Remember that. This was your choice." Jack thought about this as he lay in bed that night. The Admiral was right. No one had ordered him to participate in Protocol 7. He had chosen this path, and now he was responsible for what came next. Through the wall, he could hear Zelia moving about in her room. Somewhere in there, inside her alien body, grew a child with his DNA. A new life form, never seen before, in the universe. Jack didn't know if he should feel terrified or proud. Maybe both. 7 months passed. Jack stood in a special room aboard the Viralian flagship that now orbited Earth. The walls glowed with a soft purple light. Strange machines hummed quietly. The air smelled like flowers and something else he couldn't name. HFY room combined both human and Viralian medical technology. Human doctors in white coats worked alongside tall Viralians with shifting skin colors. In the center of it all was Zelia, lying on a bed that seemed to float a few inches off the floor. Her skin had been changing colors more rapidly in the past few hours, shifting from blues to greens to golds and back again. The Viralian doctors said this was normal for the final stage of pregnancy. "How are you feeling?" Jack asked, moving to her side. Zelia looked up at him, her violet eyes bright. "The time comes soon," she said. "Are you nervous?" "Terrified," Jack admitted with a small smile, but also excited. After the news had broken about the first human alien baby, Jack's life had changed completely. Some people called him a hero, a pioneer opening a new chapter in human history. Others said he was a traitor to his species. For 2 months, he and Zelia had stayed in the secure facility on Earth, protected by guards. Then the Viralian High Council had requested that Zelia return to their ship for the birth. After much debate, Earth's leaders agreed, but only if Jack and a team of human doctors could go too. No one wanted to miss the birth of the first hybrid child. "Jack," Zelia said, reaching for his hand. Her skin was warm, almost hot to the touch. "There is something I must tell you before the birth." Jack sat on the edge of the floating bed. "What is it?" "Viralian births are different from human ones," she said. "When the child comes, I will enter a special state, like what you call a trance. I will be aware, but I cannot speak or move for several hours." "Is it dangerous?" Jack asked, worry creeping into his voice. "No," Zelia assured him. "But it might look strange to you. Do not be afraid." Dr. Cruz approached from across the room. She had been chosen to lead the human medical team. "How's our patient?" she asked, checking the tablet in her hand. "She says the birth will happen soon." Jack said. Dr. Cruz nodded. The monitors agree. Both mother and baby have strong vital signs. She patted Jack's shoulder. You're about to make history, Lieutenant. Jack didn't care about history anymore. He just wanted everything to go well. Over the past months, as he watched Zelia's body change with the growing child inside her, his feelings had changed too. What had started as a diplomatic agreement had become something more personal. He cared about Zelia, and he already loved the child they had created together, even though he hadn't seen it yet. It begins, one of the Varelian doctors announced. Zelia's skin suddenly glowed brighter. A soft light began to form around her body like a gentle fog that gave off its own light. What's happening? Dr. Cruz asked, her eyes wide. The birth light, a Varelian doctor explained. It protects mother and child during the transition. Jack held tight to Zelia's hand as the light grew stronger. Her eyes met his one last time, then slowly closed as she entered the birth trance. Hours passed. Jack refused to leave her side even when the doctor suggested he rest. The light around Zelia pulsed like a heartbeat, growing stronger and then softer in a steady rhythm. Human and Varelian doctors moved around the room, checking readings on their devices, speaking in low voices. No one seemed worried, so Jack tried to stay calm too. Finally, just as Jack thought he couldn't stand the waiting any longer, the light around Zelia grew blindingly bright. Everyone in the room had to shield their eyes. Then, as suddenly as it had flared, the light faded to a soft glow. Jack blinked, trying to clear his vision. When he could see again, he looked down at Zelia. There, nestled against her chest, was a tiny form. Jack's breath caught in his throat. The baby had pale skin that shimmered with golden highlights like sunlight on water, tiny hands with delicate fingers, a small face that looked human, but with a hint of Varelian features in the high cheekbones and slightly pointed ears. A daughter, Zelia whispered, her eyes opening slowly as she came out of the birth trance. We have a daughter, Jack. Jack couldn't speak. Tears filled his eyes as Zelia held the baby up for him to see better. The child opened her eyes, and Jack gasped. They were shaped like human eyes, but the color was a bright, beautiful violet, just like her mother's. Do you want to hold her? Zelia asked. Carefully, as if handling the most fragile thing in the universe, Jack took his daughter in his arms. She was lighter than he expected, and warm. She looked up at him with those incredible eyes, and Jack felt his heart expand in his chest. What shall we name her? Zelia asked softly. Jack didn't have to think. Hope, he said. Her name is Hope. Word of Hope's birth spread quickly across Earth and to the stars beyond. The first successful human-alien hybrid was big news everywhere. Pictures of the baby, approved by both Jack and Zelia, appeared on screens around the world. Scientists on both planets were amazed by her perfect blend of both species' traits. As the days passed, more amazing things happened. Hope grew faster than a human baby, but slower than a Varelian child. At 1 week old, she could already focus her eyes better than a human baby of 3 months. Her skin changed color slightly when she was hungry or tired, not as dramatically as a full Varelian, but enough to show her mixed heritage. Most surprising of all were the tests that showed Hope had abilities neither species possessed alone. Her cells could heal damage faster than either human or Varelian cells. Her brain showed activity patterns never seen before in either species. She's not just a mix of us, Dr. Cruz explained to Jack one day, as they watched Hope sleeping in her special crib. She's something new, something better. Jack faced a difficult choice: stay with Starfleet or move to Varelia to be part of his daughter's life. The decision was made even harder by new threats that had emerged from deep space. Other alien species had taken notice of the human-Varelian alliance, and not all of them were friendly. Some saw the birth of Hope as a dangerous change to the natural order of things. The USS Intrepid had already been sent to investigate strange signals from the edge of the solar system. Captain Nelson had offered Jack his old position back, saying they needed good linguists more than ever now. But watching Hope grow day by day, seeing each new miracle she represented, made it hard for Jack to think about leaving. "You don't have to decide today," Zelia told him as they stood together on the observation deck, looking down at Earth below them. Hope was nestled in Zelia's arms, her tiny fingers reaching for the stars visible through the window. "I know," Jack said, "but I can't stop thinking about it. The universe just got a lot more complicated." "Perhaps that was always the true purpose of Protocol 7, Zelia said thoughtfully. "Not just a simple genetic exchange, but the creation of something entirely new, a bridge between worlds." Jack looked at Hope, who was now watching the stars with those amazing violet eyes. Somehow he knew she would be important, not just as the first of her kind, but as someone who would change the future for everyone. "Whatever comes next," Jack said, "she won't face it alone." Zelia's skin turned a warm gold color. Happiness, in the Varelian color language. "No, she will have both our worlds to protect her." As if understanding their words, Hope's skin briefly shimmered with its own golden light. She reached one small hand toward the stars, as if already claiming her place among them. The story of Jack Harris, Ambassador Zelia, and their daughter Hope spread across Earth and to distant worlds beyond. It was a reminder that even in the vast emptiness of space, connection was possible. And with that connection came the promise of something new emerging from the darkness between the stars, a hope for the future of all species. End. The sun was setting over the dense forest when Alan Miller paused on the trail. His boots were worn from 3 days of hiking, and sweat had soaked through his faded green t-shirt. He took a long drink from his water bottle and gazed at the orange sky. This was why he had come here. Peace, quiet, and no people. Alan wiped his brow and adjusted the straps on his heavy backpack. He planned to camp near the river tonight. After 8 years, 5 in the Navy and 3 as a security contractor, he needed this break from civilization. The forest didn't judge. The trees didn't carry guns. The mountains didn't scream orders. A bright light in the sky caught his eye. At first it looked like a shooting star streaking across the sunset. But something was wrong. The light was too big, too bright, and moving too slowly. "That's not right," Alan said to himself, squinting at the object. The light changed direction slightly, then curved downward. Whatever it wasn't falling naturally. It was being controlled. Alan's military training kicked in. He quickly checked his map and compass, trying to guess where the object might land. It was heading toward the valley about 2 miles east. Without hesitation, he left the marked trail and began pushing through the underbrush in that direction. As he hiked through the growing darkness, Alan's mind raced. Was it a military aircraft? A secret test plane? But he had worked with experimental aircraft before, and this looked like nothing made on Earth. The crash was quieter than he expected. No explosion, just a deep thud that shook the ground and sent birds scattering from nearby trees. By the time Alan reached the crash site, night had fallen completely. He switched on his flashlight but quickly realized he didn't need it. The crash site glowed with an eerie blue light that pulsed gently like a heartbeat. Alan approached carefully, staying low and moving from tree to tree. Steam hissed from the crashed object. It wasn't large, maybe the size of a school bus, but its design was completely alien. The outer shell seemed to flow like liquid metal, shimmering with colors that shouldn't exist. There were no wings, no engines, nothing that looked like any aircraft he had ever seen. A jagged hole had been torn in one side. Something moved inside. Alan hesitated. The smart thing would be to leave now, to radio for help. But his satellite phone was back at his campsite, and something told him this couldn't wait. Besides, someone might be hurt. "Hello?" he called, moving closer to the opening. "Anyone in there? Do you need help?" A weak sound came from inside. It might have been a groan or a word. Alan couldn't tell. He shined his flashlight into the hole and took a deep breath. Then, setting down his backpack, he climbed inside. The interior of the craft was even stranger than the outside. The walls curved in impossible angles, covered in symbols that hurt his eyes when he looked at them directly. The blue glow came from panels that lined the ceiling. The air smelled like ozone and something sweet he couldn't identify. "Hello?" he called again, moving deeper into the craft. "I'm here to help." A soft sound drew him to what seemed to be the front of the craft. Behind a fallen panel, Alan discovered something that changed his life forever. At first, he thought it was a woman. The shape was human-like: 2 arms, 2 legs, a head with hair. But as his light fell on her, Alan realized he was looking at something not from Earth. Her skin was pale green, almost like jade, with a faint glow coming from within. Her hair wasn't hair at all, but fine silver threads that moved gently as if in water, despite the still air. When she turned to look at him, her eyes were large and completely violet, with no whites or pupils. She wore a tight-fitting suit made of material similar to the ship's hull. She was pinned under a section of collapsed ceiling and a glowing blue liquid. Blood seeped from a cut on her arm. When she saw Alan, she tried to pull away, fear clear on her face despite its alien features. "It's okay," Alan said softly, setting his flashlight down and showing his empty hands. "I won't hurt you. I want to help." The creature watched him for a long moment, then touched a small device at her throat. She spoke, and the sound was like music, high and flowing, with notes Alan had never heard before. The device at her throat glowed, and then she spoke, again. This time broken English came out. "Help, please," she said, the words halting and mechanical. "Cannot move." Alan nodded and carefully approached. "I'm going to lift this off you. It might hurt." She seemed to understand and braced herself. Alan grabbed the metal panel pinning her down and was surprised at how light it was. Despite looking like steel, it felt no heavier than plastic. He lifted it easily, and the alien woman pulled herself free. "Thank you," she said, her translated voice becoming clearer. "You saved me." "Are you hurt badly?" Alan asked, pointing to the blue blood on her arm. She examined the wound and shook her head. "Minor damage. Self-repair activated." As she spoke, Alan noticed the bleeding had already stopped. Whatever she was, she healed faster than any human. "My name is Alan Miller," he said, tapping his chest. "What's your name?" The alien woman touched her own chest. "In your sounds." "Lyra." "Are there more people on your ship?" Alan asked, looking around the wrecked craft. Lyra's face changed, showing an emotion that seemed like sadness despite her alien features. "All gone. Attack. I escaped." She pointed upward. "Enemy followed. Destroyed my guardians." Alan didn't understand everything, but he caught enough. She had been attacked and had escaped to Earth. Others had died protecting her. "We should get out of here," Alan said. "If someone attacked you, they might come looking. My camp is about a mile away. Can you walk?" Lyra tried to stand but stumbled immediately. Her slender body trembled with the effort. "Your world. Heavy," she explained, trying again and failing. "My home. Lighter." Without another word, Alan gently picked her up. She weighed amazingly little in his arms, no heavier than a child despite being nearly as tall as he was. "I've got you," he said, carrying her toward the exit. "We'll get you somewhere safe." As they left the crashed ship, Lyra looked back once. "My communication. Destroyed. Cannot call home." "We'll figure something out," Alan promised, though he had no idea how to help an alien contact her people across the stars. They moved slowly through the dark forest. Every few minutes, Alan would stop and listen, worried about helicopters or search parties, but the night remained quiet except for normal forest sounds. Lyra's head rested against his shoulder. Her silver hair occasionally brushed his cheek, feeling like cool silk. The strangeness of the situation hit Alan suddenly. Here he was, carrying an alien through a forest in the middle of nowhere. 3 days ago, he had been a normal guy trying to find peace in nature. Now he was involved in what had to be first contact with alien life. "What brought you to Earth?" Alan asked as they walked. Lyra was quiet for a moment. Running. Hiding. Your world. Unknown to enemies. Who are your enemies? Why are they after you? She touched her throat device again, adjusting it. Long story. I am important. They want me dead. Alan nodded, understanding that much at least. Someone important, being hunted. That explained the escort ships she had mentioned. What Alan didn't know, couldn't know, was just how important Lyra really was. As he carried her through the darkness toward his campsite, ships from both sides of an interstellar war were already changing course, heading toward Earth. And the woman in his arms was the key to everything.